Hello everyone and welcome to card number 2 in my Valentine's Day series. I'm going to be using some Copic paper and the Fantastic Friends stamp set here by Valentine, as well as their jet black ink. And I'm going to be stamping out the fish tank, the angelfish, as well as the fish food and castle. I'm going to be doing some paper piecing and some reverse stamping and masking, as well as some airbrushing. I pulled out my Misty here thinking I would be using it, but it becomes irrelevant, so please ignore the fact that my Misty is on screen. I'd been playing around with it, so it was sitting out, and I thought I'd be using it, and then I realized so much simpler to just use my blocks for the reverse stamping. It didn't turn out great either way, but I was able to fix that. So I'm going to be using the angelfish here and reverse stamping it. Now, I will say that the jet black ink does stain your stamps, so if you're unaware of that, like I was, please be cautious. I did not realize that was going to happen until I started messing around with this. The stamp that I'm using to do the reverse stamping is the Mirror Block stamp set from Paper Smooches. And as you can see, it didn't turn out real great, but I am going over it with a multi-liner that's good with Copics, and it is the 0.5 size tip, and it works out beautifully for covering up those lines. So I'm going to finish doing that. And then off screen, I ended up stamping out the fish food, so I do apologize for that. I forgot to turn my camera back on. The paper that I'm going to be using for the paper piecing is from the Love Bug 6x6 paper pad by Doodlebug. And I'm just finding scrap there so I don't get ink on my mat, and I'm going to be stamping that out. Excuse me. And I'm going to set that aside, and I'm going to go back to getting my coloring done. So I just have my masks here for my little fish, and I have one on the heart already. And I'm not worried about anything other than the top of the fish tank here. I'm going to be using a dark color on the bottom. But for the top, I didn't want any of the blue that I was going to be using to show on that side, so I went ahead and covered that up. I have my clipboard here just to help me hold the paper, my little air gun, and BG01 to airbrush on. I love this. I really can't believe I don't do this more often. I think it turned out lovely because it's just a nice little bit of color there. The brown paper is just to cover up the fish food that I was going to be using. Didn't want to get any blue on it. I'm going to be peeling up my masks, hopefully. And the reveal, I think it's so much fun to see that reveal. I'm going to be, excuse me, pulling out a handful of Copics here. You can see I kind of tested a bunch of colors at the top. For the fish food, I'm using E000 for the middle, R29 for the little fish, and E25 for the lid. Oh, I can't talk. I wanted the focus to be on the tank mostly and the little fish. So for my first little angelfish here, he's going to be male as the pretty brighter colors. And I'm using RV04 and RV06, and I'll be using these two colors on the stripe on the other fish. I wanted my fish to kind of match a little. And then for her, I am using RV34 and RV55, and again doing that on the other fish too, so they do match a little bit. I do know that angelfish mate for life, so I thought that it would be fun to kind of have two fish that looked similar. I'm going to finish coloring that up, and then I'm using E29 here for the bottom, and just a little C0 for some shading. Not sure why I thought there needed to be shading, other than the fact that I foresaw this as being the front of the glass, and it needed to be just a little hazy. I don't know. C1 again for the shadowing for my paper piecing pattern paper here, just to give it a little more depth. I did go over the entire sand with the marker. I thought it just darkened that up just a little bit, but then it was too dark, so I went in with my colorless blender to try and lighten it. Didn't work, but that's okay. I am using, I'm going to be cutting these out, and then I will be lining the edges with a black marker so you can't see any of the white, so it looks like I did it perfectly. I'm going to be taking some multimedia matte and gluing down my castle, I did darken in the windows to give it a little bit of depth. And then I'm going to be taking the sand and covering over the castle so it looks like the castle has been sunk into the sand just a little bit. And that is for my fish tank there. And then for the front of the card, I'm using Sweetheart pattern paper from Doodlebug as well, and just some brown scrap cardstock as a shelf or tabletop or what have you. It is a standard, I'm going to be using Harold's ABCs to stamp out my sentiment, which says, I only have eyes for you. So a little fun there with the same by using just the letter I. Because what is fish without I? We just like that. It's funny. My kids have a weird sense of humor. They'll get a kick out of it. So I'm just laying that here on the bottom of my pattern paper. I love this pattern paper. I almost didn't want to cut it up. It's just so pretty. And I will be popping up my fish food here with a foam adhesive. I was planning to pop up my fish tank as well, but then decided not to because I decided I was going to coat it in glossy accents, which you'll see here at the end because I almost forgot to do it. I'm just laying out some shadow here and kind of judging where my fish tank will be, and then I will be gluing that with some multimedia mat down to my card front. And my card base is 110-pound cardstock, and it is, a landscape side folding card. So I'm just going to put that into place after I get all the adhesive onto the correct side of the paper. I don't very often use my big ATG gun, but my other one ran out, so I wanted to do this quickly. So I do take the little angel fish from the stamp set and stamp her on the inside in some angel pink ink by Memento, along with 3 little hearts for bubbles, and that finished off the inside of my card. Now, like I said, I decided I wanted to coat this in glossy accents, and I realized 2 things. 1, I should have taken the lid off of this. It's quite a large image to coat with such a small little nozzle. It took me a good several minutes to do the whole thing, but totally worth it in the end. I think it looks fantastic. It looks like it's actually a real fish tank with glass and everything. Second, I probably would have done this before, or probably should have done this before gluing it down to my card base. It warped not only the Copic cardstock, but as well as my card base itself. I'm hoping over time it will kind of smooth out, but that's okay. You live and learn, right? You live and learn. As you can see, I'm really squeezing it out of there, trying to get it out without making too many air bubbles. I did make a few, and I did go in and pop the bigger ones, but I did leave some of the smaller ones behind, as you'll see, I think in the photos itself. I thought it gave just a little bit of interest. I did move them so they weren't directly over the fish or over the sand, so it looked more like just little bubbles kind of stuck to the glass and that sort of thing, because I know that can happen with fish tanks. I used to have one when I was younger. Or my mom had fish. I know my grandmother had fish. I can't remember. So I am coating that, and if you've never used glossy accents and you're wondering why it's so cloudy, it is cloudy when it first starts out, but as it dries, it does dry clear. So just going back in and tidying up a few places that I missed, and that will be it for my card front. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. Happy crafting. Bye now.